Next topic: nuclear proliferation in the multipolar world. These are just my thoughts. This is just personal opinion. Just entertain what I'm about to say. I'm worried about nuclear proliferation as the world shifts to a multipolar world. The three main areas of concern are, of course, the Arab world, Europe, and East Asia. I'm not the first person to worry about nuclear proliferation in the Islamic world or the Arab world, but let me share my thoughts. We know Iran has a nuclear program. If Iran is to become a nuclear power, then so will Saudi Arabia, possibly UAE, Qatar, and other monarchies too. If Iran and Saudis were to become nuclear power, then Turkey will want them too. This is the Islamic world becoming nuclear powers. But remember, US has military bases in all of the countries mentioned except Iran. Turkey is a NATO country. Both Iran and Turkey have their own military industrial complexes, along with weapons purchased from USA and Russia. Iran is purchasing from Russia, Turkey is from US. Turkey is also purchasing from Russia. Or at least they tried to. Then we have Europe. The Europeans are worried about a major war with Russia. The main reason for this is foolish American foreign policy towards Russia. They have cancelled missile treaties. Of course, we know about the NATO expansion, which led to the conflict in Ukraine. After this war, there's a definite risk of Germany and Poland getting nuclear weapons. Now, Germany will not be aggressive with nuclear weapons. They'll want them as deterrents. Germans already have civilian nuclear technology, although they are deindustrializing that too for some foolish reason. They're getting rid of their nuclear reactors. But they can have nuclear reactors if they want to. And remember, it was the Germans who originally invented missiles during the Second World War. I think it was called the V2 rocket. I think it was called V2 rocket, if I remember correctly. And then USA and Soviet Union took those German scientists in, and that's how we got the space program with NASA and Roscosmos, I think the Russian counterpart is. Germany will get it mostly as a deterrence. Germany is the biggest economy in Europe, and they also share border with France. It's not just the Russians. France is also a nuclear power. And Poland has a terrible history with both Germany and Russia. If either Germany or Poland get nuclear weapons, the other country will follow. And maybe some other Scandinavian countries. I'm not saying they won't, but they probably will. Maybe Greece, you can speculate. You can do all kinds of speculation. But Germany and Poland are the most likely countries to have the motivation to have their own nuclear weapons program. Now we come to East Asia. In East Asia, China, Russia, and North Korea are all nuclear powers. If there is a war in East Asia, Japan will most likely become a nuclear power. Again, Japan has world-class engineers. They also have a civilian nuclear program, civilian nuclear reactors. If you remember the 2011 tsunamis and the subsequent Fukushima disaster, which is Japan's Chernobyl, basically. Taiwan is extremely unlikely to become a nuclear power. Taiwanese can figure it out, of course, but they probably will not for political reasons. One China policy. If South Korea isn't attacked by North Korea, but Taiwan is attacked by China, South Korea will also become a nuclear power post-war. So Japan, possibly South Korea, and in the south of East Asia, the Southeast Asia, I'm not going to count out Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Singapore. I'm not saying they will become nuclear, but I'm not going to count them out either. If nuclear proliferation starts like just spreading like wildfire. With the exception of Iran and Russia, China, and North Korea, all the countries that I just mentioned have American military bases. So them going nuclear will require Americans to look the other way, or Americans removing their military bases from these countries. I'd like to remind people that Libya had a nuclear program. After negotiating with the West, Libya decided to dismantle its nuclear program. Then a few years later, USA and its NATO allies invaded Libya and overthrew its government in 2011. So anyone who's worried about another nuclear power attacking them will try to get nuclear weapons just for deterrence purposes. Like I said, many countries that will want to go nuclear will require Americans to look the other way, or Americans removing their military bases from those countries. So what will the US do? US is going through a slow collapse. Its debt to GDP ratio has crossed 100%. Its interest payments are more than its defense budgets. So Americans will have no choice but to withdraw its military bases and cut its military spending. Or all the countries that I mentioned also collapse with the United States and they rise again when US rises again. If America somehow can manage to keep up their military spending, then all the countries that have nuclear American bases will collapse with America and they will return back to the world stage with America as America rises again after the collapse. So the question is, what overseas military bases will the US close? Those countries will try to get nuclear weapons once they lose American military protection. If America closes a military base in some country in the Islamic world, in the East Asia, in Europe, then that country probably will get nuclear weapons just for deterrence purposes. Now, I'm not worried about Latin America getting nuclear weapons. US will collapse and recover in 10 to 20 years. That's the best case scenario, but it is most likely scenario, most possible scenario, I guess you can say. Once US is back, it will still be a major global power. It just probably will not be a superpower like it was post World War II, or a hyperpower like it has been since the collapse of the Soviet Union. US will probably be, in terms of global power, the way it was in early 20th century till the Second World War. That means the Monroe Doctrine will still apply. US will not allow any Latin American country to become a nuclear power. US has to blunder really hard for a Latin American country to successfully become a nuclear power. America will not allow that. If America allows it, it's a blunder. It will not happen. Also, Russia and China probably will not allow any African country to become a nuclear power. So this is what I'm worried about. Nuclear proliferation in the multipolar world. I hope I'm wrong about this, but this is a possibility.